This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Other than a famous song by John Denver, there's not much that many people can cite as noteworthy about West Virginia. But head over to the very eastern portion of the state, and nestled in the hills is a motorsports haven. Boasting many more tracks and much more facilities than it was scanned for iRacing, Summit Point Motorsports Park sees plenty of use, even if it's on a local club level. But the bumpy, old, narrow version is what the surface drivers face today, and it has its fair share of difficulties, even when just talking about it. We'll see who this country road takes home to victory lane as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Weekend Warriors, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Stefan Schlacher. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Steph, though it's a small track, I have to admit I enjoy turning laps at Summit. It seems like something of a hidden gem.
A club track gem for sure, Joe. Offering two very tricky fast sweepers, a heavy braking zone after a long straight, and a tight and twisty stadium section. All of that fitting within just 1.98 miles of tarmac accessible. Put on top of that an extremely bumpy road surface, and you're sure to get a very interesting track for the Spec Racer 4. Today, drivers will not only struggle with their cars, but also with the 10 corners that this layout has to offer. It's not gonna be about who makes no mistakes, but who makes less of them. Now, if you're asking yourself how one can master this track successfully, ask no longer, as we're now going to send you trackside with our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we're in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Summit Point. Down the front stretch, this will definitely be your best place to try and overtake. The only thing is, everyone else knows this too, and will probably go defensive early. A slipstream could help you try to get ahead, but if you're on the outside, you'll probably want to try and over-under. The understeer this car experiences means coming off of 2, if you outgun your opponent, you could beat them to wagon wheel. And though you often see battles coming up to this corner, it usually isn't an overtaking spot by outbraking because it's swift and off camber. This is what they call an error-inducing turn because of how precise you have to be. Avoid getting your wheels into the gravel, and from off there, you get a short breather until 4. You'll need a lift to keep the racing line and help line up the braking for yard sale. It's very easy to outbrake yourself or simply lose control coming into here. This now starts the technical back half of the course, and you'll need lots of throttle control through the carousel and the S's. The off-throttle oversteer and on-throttle understeer make it a balancing game. Ideally, you'll want to set the car up for a better entry for the following corner by hugging the inside on the previous exit. That eventually culminates into turn 9, where it's very marginal on if you can take it flat out or not. And every little ounce of speed will matter here because you don't want to be vulnerable into paddock bend. As fast as this turn is, it makes side-by-side racing not only dangerous, but hampers your exit speed horribly. And since it takes you back onto the front stretch, you really don't want to be left under attack. But hopefully, if you've kept it together, you've now finished a lap around Summit Point. You see a lap around Summit Point from the driver's perspective. But as always, the Weekend Warriors is brought to you by Sim Stickers. Whether it's button boxes, steering wheels, or keyboards, they have you covered. You can find out more at simstickers.co.uk. Huge thank you to them for helping sponsor this season and bringing this to air so that we can show you all the action. But the action today, Steph, what are we expecting in the race details for today's race?
Well, Joe, sure is going to be interesting as always. Obviously, we have a 40 minutes race here for round 10 of the 12th race season, 3 drop weeks will be awarded to the drivers. That means that the 3 worst races of the season will be dropped from their results. As always, setups are completely open, but they're only allowed to have a 35% restricted fuel cell. That means that 1 stop will be required to make the distance. Points always, as always, rationed out from first to get 100 points, and the last driver to cross the fin to actually be in the server gets 25 points. So no matter how many people are racing, you will still get a lot of points. Incident penalty, they do have that instead of an incident cap. That means you get -3 points awarded for each 10 incidents. And also they have a T-car in the series. That means they have 1 fast repair available if their car is damaged.
Hopefully we won't have too many drivers that will need to use that. One thing you should use, though, is the subscribe button. If you haven't already subscribed to the iRacing Esports Network, where we're broadcasting live right now, make sure to go either down a little bit, you'll see a red button under this video, or if you go to their YouTube page, you can see the big red subscribe button there. Click it, you won't miss a moment here on the Weekend Warriors, the iRacing Esports Network. Right now, we are going through qualifying, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, David Gaspers just recently lost the pole. Adam Bradshaw, the Spec 2 driver, has found a good amount of speed. It's been a while since I think we've seen a Spec 2 driver up on the pole, which I want to say it has happened at least once before. Bradshaw looking to be the next name added to that list.
Well, the last 3 seasons, I don't remember that, so for me, it's the very first time that a Spec 2 driver is right now on provisionable. Still got about 7 minutes left in the session. On top of that, Donald Fitterer, also pretty much out of nowhere, sitting right now in 4th place with a 122.912, about 3/10, more like 2.5 away from Adam Bradshaw. So both of them very, very good performances in qualifying.
Bradshaw's latest lap not going to count. We saw him have some troubles out of the final corner, but he illustrated something that I feel like is worth noting to our audience. Coming off of that last corner, I have to imagine we'll see a few drivers probably go off into that gravel, but he hit a bump, and that sent him immediately spinning. Do you think that's going to be a big problem with drivers pushing hard here today, is getting into that bumpy area and wrecking their car out of the final corner?
Yeah, you can see that a lot. Also, not only in the Spec Racer Ford, but also in the MX-5 and Solstice and those cars. So it's not only down to the Spec Racer Ford, it's pretty much down to how this track is. It's extremely bumpy, and it can catch you out in some places. You're not going to see something like Lotus 79 earlier today, where the curbs are going to kill. It's not that much because they're kind of graduate. They're not that steep of curves, but still can throw you off quite decently.
Right now, our top 5 is Bradshaw on the pole, with Gaspers trying to get another half a tenth down to catch him. Juracek is in 3rd. Fitter, as you mentioned, 4th. Daniel Sadro, one of our other championship contenders, is sitting in P5. He's got a little bit of work to do, but we've seen in the past that Daniel is a much better racer than a qualifier most times.
And so right now on the screen we see a new face to this series, Max Grau, the number 253, and we have a little bit of a story to him. He is actually a real-life Spec Racer 4 driver.
Indeed, bringing in from the real world, and he fared pretty well in warm-up. He was up to 6th last I saw. I'm not sure if that changed before the checkered flag fell on that, but he's currently in 10th in qualifying, which is not bad for a newcomer in a series with talent this deep. He's coming up to the final corner here. Let's see if this lap will be able to send him a little bit higher up. He's got about 4 minutes left. With how quick the laps go here, he will have more chances. That bright purple car, certainly easy to spot. So as he comes to the line, what's the time going to be? Looks like not going to count, unfortunately. So he's got to go around one more time. Must have had an off somewhere around there.
Yeah, boasting his real-life colors, also races there in pink, or violet rather, and blue as it right now spins out. Also races in the Formula Enterprises FE2 car as Gaspers comes around the last turn. And... oh, sorry, we're Jason Perry. He jumps up to 3rd place, Jason Perry.
Ah, nice gain for Perry. Also, you may have noticed at the top of your screen a gain for David Gaspers, up one more, ahead of Adam Bradshaw. Puts himself back on that provisional pole. Can anybody come through and maybe try and take that away before it's all over? Sadro's going to try. He's currently coming up to the final turn here. Underneath that bridge, very swift right-hander. Oh, but look at that slide. That's not going to be the fast way around. I'll be surprised if this is his best lap thus far. Across the start-finish line, it is not. He is still about half a second away from his best time that time around. Looking through. Surprised to see Steve Elson struggling as much as he has today. He did not look that great in warm-up, and right now he's all the way down in 8th position. Number 56 has plenty of laps here in qualifying, so this is not due to too many offs or anything. Just something does not seem to be clicking.
Right now I had a look, and the top 17 drivers are within a second of David Gaspers and his 22.505. So yeah, once again, a very competitive this field. That's 17 out of 25 drivers all together within a second.
Nelson comes around that final turn. He's going to try and get one more down here. Let's see what this one holds. It is his fastest, a 22.9. That's good enough to get him up to 6th. That seems a little bit more representative from what we've seen from him in the past.
Jumped 2 position there from 8th up to 6th place, and he's only about 3/10 away from 2nd place Adam Bradshaw. Miroslav Juricek, same thing for him, about 3.5 for him to get up there, or 2.5, sorry, to get up there. Let's see what he can do coming after the last turn over the line. 24.5. That probably was an outlap.
Yep, I think he was coming back out. He will get enough time for 1, maybe 2 more laps. It depends on how hot he is around this one as we watch Bob Kern, who currently sits in the 9th position, just ahead of newcomer Grau by about 1/1000th of a second. He's getting a nice little draft from Stevie Ray, though. I wonder if this will help his lap time. This is not really known as much of a draft track, but you can get a little boost from it. Oh, it is faster. 22.9. Oh, but it's only up 1 position for Bob Kern. So that puts him in 9th. That's a gain is a gain, I suppose.
Yeah, and if he gains just 1 more 10th, he would jump up from 9th all the way up to 4th place.
Brian Short working his way around, currently 21st. We actually have laps for every single driver for the 2nd race in a row. Usually we have at least a few down at the back every race we cover that don't manage to get a qualifying lap in. Juricek coming around for 1 more here. Is this going to be the checkered flag, or is he going to be able to get across? I think he's going to be able to start 1 more. It's just going to be very, very close. Yes, he'll start 1 more lap. That one not quicker, unfortunately. So he stays on the outside of row 2.
Now, Joe, we have to say, technically not all drivers can put in a qualifying lap, because Jerry McGreevy just about connected into the server right before the checkered flag fell.
Oh, there we go. So Jerry's going to start at the back once again. Max Grau, the next to finish his qualifying with the checkered flag out now, but that lap does not count for him. His fastest is going to be the 23 flat. Jason Perry sits in 3rd. He leads a string of cars behind him. His is not faster. Stevie Ray goes faster, but he stays 12th.
No,
Bob Kern,
he went up to 3rd.
Oh, wow. Fantastic lap. I think he had a little bit of help with the slipstream. Aaron DePoy does go faster on his final lap. Looks like Ian Wilson will not improve. He stays in 22nd. So we have anybody else? That might be it. That is it for our...
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I jumped the gun, but then Juracek decided to save me on that one. So he's not going to finish that lap. He's going to abandon it. He knows he had an off, and it is worthless now. Qualifying's over, and that gives us our starting grid for the day. David Gaspers came in late in practice, but that didn't matter. He still managed to put it at the top in qualifying. The race is where it'll really matter in the end. Adam Bradshaw, our pole sitter for Spec 2, starting on the front row. This is a great showing from him, with Stevie Ray as well, managing third on his very last attempt. Jason Perry will be starting P4, who was with him in that little slipstream pack that they had. Miroslav Juracek tried his hardest, but just could not get it down any farther on his last few attempts. He starts fifth. Donald Fitterer will be P6 when the green drops. Then you've got Steve Elson, who was bumped to seventh with the climbing Stevie Ray. Daniel Sadro all the way down in eighth for the number 51. He's got some real work to do today to get farther up towards the front. Michael Shaw starts in P9, with Bob Kern rounding out your top 10.
Antonio Rees starting his number 77 in 11th place, just about a 10th behind Bob Kern. Max Grau, the real-life Spec Racer 4 driver, all the way down in 12th place. Alongside him will be, or right behind him, sorry, will be Edward Doherty and Michael Dolbeck in 7th row. Matthew Stanley in 15th place. Alongside him, Jeff Jacobs and Ramon Regalado 17th. Aaron DePoy taking 18th spot on the grid. The 10th row going to Sean Pereira and Aaron Furley.
Brian Short will be starting in 21st, with Ian Wilson in 22nd. Then you've got Joshua Borges-Bonkowski in 23rd. Will Tidwell was the last to get a time in. And Jerry McAreevy is showing in the session, but I do not see him gridded up yet. We'll see if he actually takes to the grid and attempts to try and compete in this race. We are on a rolling start, as always, for this series. So behind the Porsche pace car, they'll get a pace lap, and then it's on our way for 40 minutes here for round 10. Once again, a big thank you goes out to our sponsor for this series, Sim Stickers. Again, if you want to check them out, either to thank them or check out their products and see how they can help your sim setup, you can find them at simstickers.co.uk. Decent-sized field of 25 cars. Not the biggest we've seen in Weekend Warriors, but this is a very short lap around here, Steph. So I kind of wonder if we're going to see traffic play a role in how this whole thing unfolds.
Oh yeah, these guys will most certainly thank the gods for being just 25. So basically, they will thank Nim Cross, our Lord and Savior. But no, 25 cars is a decent sized grid for this track, especially because, remember, in the MX5 challenge, we only have 20 that will race. I think it's 20. Might be actually lower. Either way, it is going to be interesting. Traffic might play a role. After all, we have the whole field that is all the way down to Will Tidwell in 24th within just 3 seconds of David Gaspers. So it's not all too much. And actually, Will Tidwell is a full second of second last driver in 23rd. So actually, Bonkowski is not starting here today. He did not take the green flag. Is not even in the server, so we will have also Gary McReevy not in the race, so we will have 23 drivers taking the green flag.
That's 2 less to try and lap their way around or deal with on this track. They come up to one of the trickier corners, turn 3, referred to as wagon wheel. Blind crest over here, very fast, and another spot where I expect we'll see a lot of cars dip off into the gravel there. You see on the right of Doherty. But again, those incident points, that can take away opportunities to make inroads in the championship. So they can't be too sloppy out here, Steph.
Yeah, that is for sure going to be an interesting point, because you get those 3 penalty points deducted from your points tally that you take away here at Summit Point. And it is quite easy to take those off tracks, especially at Wagon Bend. And then sometimes also at the S's, that left-hander that these guys are gonna come up next is really tricky to maneuver on the inside. because at the end of that curb you can very easily get an off track. And also, very quick notice, McAreevy, for all those fans out there of him, he did join the server again, so he will most definitely take the green flag from the pit lane.
These drivers going to be taking it from on the track as now they come under the bridge along what is essentially the back stretch of this course, which then only has one corner between it and the front stretch. There goes the Porsche pace car ducking his way in, and David Gaspers has control of the field, leading them around very, very slowly, waiting a while to get going. He is really stacking them up. Almost to the start-finish line now. He's got to go eventually. Green flag is out. Gaspers gets on the accelerator. Adam Bradshaw, unfortunately, gets jumped pretty badly.
Three wide in behind.
Oh, yeah, and that is Elson who backs out of it. He thinks better of that. Stevie Ray in third, looking to the inside. See if he can take the second place away. Jason Perry around the outside of that group as well. Pretty orderly through the first turn, despite a few three-wide situations looked like they were going to happen. I think everybody's safe through turn one.
Yeah, everyone is safe through turn one, so great awareness by everyone. There was, as he said, a few three-wide situations all cleared up. Also a little bit of an accordion effect into turn one on the inside. But apart from that, David Gaspers leading away.
This might be the real danger zone we got to watch out for, sometimes nicknamed yard sale corner. And we got one off big. Who was that?
Sean Pereira into the wall, immediately chose his car too. So very early upset for him.
Looks like he's still going. He's going to try and drive it around, but we're going to watch it one more time. He's in the mid-pack, already having some connection issues. Rear just got away from him. He's got that spare car waiting. He's going to need to take it, and it will mean an extra run down pit lane. Gaspers leading the first lap back around by quite a margin, 1.5 seconds. The rest are scrabbling to try and settle second place, which looks like it might go to Stevie Ray. He's got to run to the inside of Adam Bradshaw, our leader in Spec 2. Perry is going to try and follow through. He gets a nose in down into turn one.
Oh, Ray's wide.
Oh, and Ray nearly going off track, has to get off the throttle. There goes Jason Perry from fourth to second in one corner.
And Stevie Ray has to duck in behind Adam Bradshaw, so that is back into fourth place for him.
Looks like
oh, who is that? Antonio Rees losing his car into the woods and into the darkness he goes.
Oh, that's something we hadn't mentioned, is this track doesn't have walls completely around everything, and iRacing can only model so much of it. So I guess he found the edge of the world and slipped off.
Now, was that a wanted quotation?
I'm sorry.
That on top of the world, the end of the world. But yeah, no. Oh, Stevie Ray nearly spinning out there out of turn 10. Paddock Pant saves it, and now he probably lost a lot of momentum there. Not really, actually. Good save by Stevie Ray. Keeps his momentum up, but makes him a little bit vulnerable to Donald Fitterer. Goes to the inside. Let's see Fitterer, who is later on the brakes. It's Fitterer, and in behind, that's Juracek.
Juracek gets on the binders just enough, but he does manage to get a nose inside. Another time for Stevie Ray to drift a little bit wide out of the corner. This is bottling up Steve Elson behind him with nowhere to go as we ride on board. Juracek on the outside of both. Oh, and there goes Juracek straight to the tires. One little overcorrection, and just like that, his race is ruined. Watching the replay here. Did he catch the grass maybe? Yeah, just the tiniest of touches. Wow, so a number of our drivers up at the top having some issues. I would like to point out that Perry and Bradshaw have been working together, as Bradshaw has been pulling up behind the 97. bump drafting him on any of the straights that are long enough. See if they can try to run down Gaspers. Hasn't quite been working yet, as there's about 2.5 seconds between themselves and our leader.
And even together, they're about 0.2 per lap slower than David Gasper's last lap, actually 0.5 slower than Gasper. So yes, they're bump drafting, but it's really not working out for their favor to catch up to Gasper's.
Boy, Steve Ray is falling quick because Steve Ellison just got by him. That moves him up to 5th position. Got a bit of a train of cars back there too. That's Sadro in there, Max Grau, and Michael Shaw.
And we actually had a 2x2 for 13th places. Aaron Fergley finds the edge of the track in a wagon bend and spins around.
That to a bit because a battle between Elson and Ray was not over. Ray tried to come back at him. Grau manages to get by Sadro. A lot of swapping around in this group. Come now into the S's. Trying to get the speed up. Elson trying to leave them behind and chase down the 3 in front of him. That's Fitterer, Bradshaw, and Perry. There's a podium on the cards if you could just catch them. Goes a little wide coming out of the final turn. Stevie Ray gets himself a little bit of a better exit. He's got the slipstream now. Pulls in behind. Ducks down to the inside. Steve versus Steve. Who's going to come out ahead? And I think Ray looks like he is going to be able to successfully manage this one. Oh, as Max Grau is aggressive into the corner. And Steve Elson gets tipped with a little bit of contact from Shaw. Isn't over yet. Everybody's trying to weave their way through the slow cars.
Really damaged. His car just pulled over to the right side there. But yeah, I'm not sure if it really was Max being that aggressive. I think he just took a normal braking point, and yeah, Steve Elson being a little bit early on the brakes, trying to do an undercut of sorts. Yeah, their lines just crossed there, and that awkward situation was the result.
Now let's watch vaguely to see what exactly happened to him, because it was quite a while ago. And when we come back, he actually just had another incident. This time with Ramon Regalado. This is into turn 3 in the wagon wheel.
Yeah, you're gonna see him just catch the outside grass. They're right there, and away she goes.
As we come back live, he's got going once again after he made contact with Regalado. They are down in 19th and 20th, though, sadly. With Steve Elson's hard contact, he's taken a tow to the pits. And I think he might be just outside the pit window. And in fact, he has left the server, so Steve Elson is done for the day regardless.
Yeah,
this
that's
is our leader up at the front, David Gasper. Steph?
Yeah, that's already the third driver that had to park his car behind the wall. So Antonio Rees, Miroslav Jurczyk, and Steve Elson so far are DQs of the race, or DNFs of the race.
Back to Jason Perry. Adam Bradshaw, with all the action that we were following, he made the pass into turn 1 a couple laps ago. He now leads the 97. Donald Fitter been waiting patiently behind the pair of them. And after all of the stuff that we saw with the group behind, with something like 5 cars in there, it has been whittled down to 1. Stevie Ray is the only one left standing. He rides in 5th. Just beyond this group. You can barely catch flashes of him in the background.
I wonder if he has the radio turned on right now.
Oh, we got a battle. Oh, and Edward Doherty just gets tipped now. That's Michael Dobeck who gets into him.
Oh, there's a car. Oh,
that's Jacobson losing control back there too. Started to see the fight erupt. The next thing I know, I think Doherty lost a position to Curran on that turn before as well.
Yeah. No, it already happened the turn before because Edward Doherty lost the rear of the car there. So he was slow because of that, and then Yeah, honestly, I would say Doherty didn't expect Dobek to be there, just turned in on his normal line, realizing too late that Dobek was already on his inside.
A little bit of damage to Doherty from that. As that was happening, again, poor Jason Perry and Adam Bradshaw are probably wondering, how do we get the cameras on us? Because we've been swapping positions, and it is now Perry in second place, Bradshaw in third. Seems to be mostly happening into turn one.
I was just flicking through the field, and I saw, Aaron Fergley just got tipped by Will Tidwell. Woo! Into yard sale. That was very close. Term prior, Will Tidwell and Ramon Regalado both went off track quite heavily, and then
We'll come back to that in a bit because there's action on screen yet again. Bradshaw with the slipstream down to the inside. Perry does not defend. I'm wondering if this isn't so much a battle. Well, no, it is a battle because Perry tries to come back at him in the braking zone, but being on the outside of that turn is not paying off. He falls down to third.
Sadro versus Max Grau. Sadro just overtook Grau into turn 1, but Grau, not one to be beaten, takes back turn P6 before turn 3.
Let's see what happened to Aaron.
Yeah, Joe, this one could have been one heck of a wreck for those two.
Yeah, Tidwell did a good job trying to avoid the second half of it, but in the process, certainly had to go very, very wide. Woohoo! Didn't hit each other a second time, but the initial contact certainly did not help Aaron.
Not gonna lie, I had flashbacks from Lotus 49 there at Pocono. But those are stories of a different time. And Michael Dobek right now challenging Brian D. Short for 10th place. Not working out for him though into the last turn.
Second place going to change hands once more. Jason Perry down to the inside. Last time it was reversed, but this time Adam Bradshaw able to pull the over-under. The question is, does he have enough momentum to get by the time they hit wagon wheel? He's going to be on the wrong side of the track, and they bang, wheels coming together, making contact. Down into the wagon wheel corner. Bradshaw loses the rear of the car, catches it, but he loses it again.
Don't go from us. Thank you.
Oh, and he just keeps it out of the trees, but boy, there's a lot of time lost in that. Once he gets going, he's all the way down to 8th, make it 9th. Let's watch the replay once more. Another instance of a car touching the grass to the outside of that corner.
But the first one to spin to the inside there, Joe. And viewers, in case you're wondering, where is that line where they can fall off the world? Well, it's just behind the trees.
Yeah, a little bit difficult to see from our cameras. The drivers certainly know when they hit it because they suddenly find themselves appearing in pit lane. As we head back to Grau and Sadro, once again still fighting for a top 5. They've fallen off of Stevie Ray, who is ahead by about 3.5 seconds. Let's ride on board with Sadro and see if the draft is enough. Look at Grau defend.
Yeah, and quickly Bob Kern decides it's pit time.
We are in the window. To the outside, Daniel Sadro. This didn't work out for Bradshaw, but Bradshaw pulled the over-under. Oh, way too wide off into the dirt for Daniel Sadro. That's going to scupper those chances.
But he didn't lose all too much time to Max Grau, so he's still very much in the fight for the 5th place as Bob Kern exits pit lane once again.
That brings him back in 16th position. He is able to go to the end from here. Should gain some more as time goes on. This is a little bit farther ahead of him. Aaron DePoy trying to fight for 11th with Jeff Jacobson just in front of him. They come down into yard sale. Jacobson going slightly defensive, covering off the middle of this narrow track. They hit the technical back half of the course, through the carousel now.
I'm not even sure if that was defending or just that is his line, because I myself, I know that I always stay to the middle of the track there going into yard sale.
Yeah, see, I bring it all the way over to the right, but I am not the fastest driver, so I probably am not one able to speak to what's the correct way to go. Jeff Jacobson leading the way ahead of Aaron DePoy. And Aaron looking to get the launch off the final corner as Stevie Ray pits now.
Yeah, we got our confirmation. It is pit time.
He wasn't the first this time, though. Down to the inside goes Aaron DePoy. This has been the hot spot. If you want good action, this is the place to park your chair. Does he have it? Looks like it was nice and smooth off of there. Jeff Jacobson maybe was trying the over-under. Didn't quite work out for him.
But he got the drive.
I
think...
not enough of one.
We need longer straights. At front, you're not missing anything. David Gasper, 6.6 seconds, already 7.1 seconds ahead of Jason Perry, who is still trying to defend off Donald Fitterer. And Max Grau is already about, nearly 7 seconds behind the battle for second place. As Grau goes very far off track. Can he save it? Yes, he can. Able to save it after the SS. So his race continues on.
Remember how I said Daniel Sadro is a better racer than a better qualifier? Let's watch from Grau's perspective. This is another position. Having qualified 8th, Sadro now takes 4th. Oof. Look at those hands. My goodness. Build a log cabin out of those. Sawing back and forth as much as he is. Sadro now behind his teammate Donald Fitterer, who's up into 3rd because of the problems that Bradshaw had. But Sadro is a whole 7 seconds behind.
Dobeck trying to get his 8th place back from Brian D. Short there side by side out of turn 1. But it didn't work out for Dobeck. He loses his 8th place to Brian D. Short.
You see Dobeck in the black and white machine, the red and white, belonging to Short in the 550. Dobeck gets a bad run off of Wagon Wheel, just not long enough of a straight for Dobeck. Could maybe take a look. Nope, looks like Short going to protect the inside down into yard sale. If you're wondering how to tell the Spec 2 leader, since that has now changed, you can look at the numbers of the cars. Bradshaw was leading, but it has now gone to Max Grau. Even though he is down to 5th with that recent error, he is still the front of all of our Spec 2 cars. This is our second place driver, Jason Perry. Fitterer chasing, but doesn't seem to be really threatening Jason Perry ever since Bradshaw fell away.
I'm kind of feeling like he's just trying to save fuel right now behind him, as Brian D. Short and Michael Dobeck are side by side once again going into turn 1. Dobeck on the outside trying to get his 8th place again, and does so as Brian backs out of it.
Side-by-side action between Grau and Sadro. Grau got the position back, but Sadro challenging into Wagon Wheel. Aggressive stuff. Daniel knows he's fighting for a championship. He wants as many spots as he can get. He falls back in line for now. Swinging it into the carousel section of the lap. Sadro taking a very different line from Max there. Very shallow. This moves the 253 of Grau back up to 4th. Sadro falls back to 5th in that process. With them fighting as much as they have, they've lost time to Matthew Staley, who is now in 6 and 2 seconds behind. Matthew, not one we've really given much attention to, and boy, credit to the number 14. He started this race in 15th spot. He's up to 6th.
Yes, sir. Also, Max Grau, he started his race in 12th place, as they are side by side once again for that 4th place. Sadro on the inside, Max Grau on the outside. Grau going a little bit wide through turn 1, but he gets a better drive and defends his 4th place.
Making it difficult for Sadro. That real-world experience looking like it's coming in handy for the 253. Robust defense thus far, keeping Daniel behind. Still waiting on a lot of drivers to come into pit. We haven't really had much in the way of traffic like I was predicting. Gaspers has just been cruising out there up at the front, now stretched it to 9 seconds over Jason Perry. This country road has been quite calm for the number 23. You know, after Bradshaw's problems and winding up in 10th position, he himself has gone forward a little bit. And he's now in 7th, and that's going to be 6th because Daniel Sadro.
Exactly, pitting from that battle, maybe thinking that alone he can make more of himself. Also, Michael Durbeck joining him in the pit stalls now. So with 2 cars in the pit lane as Sadro goes up.
Yes, Bradshaw just overtook Staley on screen down into turn 1. Staley didn't fight that one too hard. Sadro... okay, excuse me. Sadro disappeared on my screen. I thought he had exited for some reason. He is behind Stevie Ray. So the number 11 is our highest pitter. It makes sense. Ray was fighting with those top 3, I believe, top 4 maybe, at the start of the race.
The really interesting part comes in that Stevie Ray actually was about 3 seconds longer in his pit stall than Daniel Sadro.
Not sure why he was so much longer. Not exactly a terribly thirsty track. Sadro comes out in 13th position.
As Adam Bradshaw goes into pit lane.
So Bradshaw in for his scheduled stop, trying to make up for what turned out to be a critical error for him. A podium definitely looked like it was likely. We're already past halfway through this race. Short is going to follow them in. Jeff Jacobson also pits.
And Sadro obviously going past all of them, as well as Stevie Ray. Now, the gap between Stevie Ray and Daniel Sadro is right now about 3 seconds.
Makes me wonder how Stevie Ray is going to come out in relation to Jason Perry, Donald Fitterer, Max Grau, all those drivers. There we see Perry and Fitterer still close together. Nothing has changed between Fitterer and Perry. He's just riding behind him. Maybe this is Donald trying to save some fuel. Hard to say if this is his maximum pace and he's just trying to cling to the slipstream, or if he's actually trying to ease the load on his pit stop and make it a little bit quicker. Oh, and our leader is in.
And he actually overshot his pit lane because ever so slightly, not too much of a concern for him, but...
Yeah, a 9-second gap. I think he should be pretty safe. He returns in 4th position. If it gives you an idea, as he's exiting the pit, Stevie Ray is just coming around the final corner. So he was a long ways ahead.
Yeah, pit lane delta, I reckon, is about 20 seconds here with all of that. As Ian Wilson in pit lane, as well as Matthew Staley. The Staley is going to be interesting in regards of Bob Kern as he passes him, whereas Michael Shaw should come out in front of him.
Continue to ride on board with Fitterer. This is now the battle for the lead, but that will change once these two take stops. Matthew Staley as well has finished his pit stop and is back out in 12th position behind Bob Kern.
Crunching the numbers, this should be the last/second last lap these guys can make. I hope I'm not biting my words in lap's time. But yeah, Donald Fitterer and Jason Perry, as you said, fighting for the now first place, as we're looking at Bob Kern, second place right now of all the, not fourth place of all the guys that have pitted so far.
Just about half a dozen drivers left that need to pit. Perry and Fitterer do not come in this time by. They stay out, but Perry continues to lead ahead of Donald. But the 111 still not making any moves or anything that indicates he's going to try and get aggressive. Edward Doherty now pits. We're waiting on Regalado to come in. Aaron Vagley. Aaron DePoy has yet to stop. We mentioned Fitterer and Perry, and Max Grau also hasn't pitted yet.
At this point, I think Fitterer is actually able to make a lap more than Jason Perry. So I think he has saved enough fuel to do exactly that, but just one more lap and not two.
Oh my goodness, what's happening with Doherty here? This is down into turn 1. It's a battle for position ahead of him. Doherty's not involved with it, and it looks like Vagley's going to be ahead of Short. Oh, actually, no, Doherty was involved in it. He is for position there.
And at the very front, I'm biting my words as Jason Perry and Donald Fitterer go past her once again.
Always seems to happen when commentators try to predict fuel strategy in a race, doesn't it? It's always easy to talk when you're outside the car, but really the drivers know a lot better what is happening down on track and inside the cockpit. Just 5 cars left. Actually, make that 6 cars left that need to pit. Looks like these drivers trying to go all the way to fumes on their tank, and will come in and take it to the end of the race when they have to do less figuring out of exactly how many laps they can go.
Alright, now I'm pretty sure Jason Perry has to come in this lap because pretty sure Bob Kern can make it. He's right now 10 laps into his stint since he pitted, and that means that Jason Perry probably has to pit this lap, and Donald Fitterer, if he was really able to save enough fuel, that he can go that one lap longer. Let's see if I am right this time, and I'm totally not.
Both of them staying out and continuing on. What about Max Grau? Max Grau is not going to come in either. So, as I look through the field to see DePoy, Sadro, Regalado, and Vagley. Ooh, Vagley just had an off. Braked himself. Don't necessarily need to show it. Just went hot into yard sale. Was off into the grass. Boy's not pitting this time, but Regalado is. Ramon's greatest race that he's seen. Aaron pits. What happened to Wilson?
That car is pretty much done. And his car is already quite damaged going into yard sale, spins it out, and decides it's that time of the year.
Yeah, that happened. We won't see the replay here because it's a little far back now, but Ian Wilson spun it out and wagon wheel and went straight into the tire barrier. That's what caused that incredible damage on the front. Jason Perry, in the meantime, finally comes in, and I think we have our answer about Donald Fitterer. It looks like he was just relaxing a bit because he continues on an extra lap. Max Grau also pits.
With that, I also realized the mistake I made. I forgot to count the lap that Bob Kern was pitting in. He was going in 9 laps. He pitted in on lap 9. That means that he is going 9 laps longer than anyone else, obviously, or than these guys right now. So yeah, it really seems though that these guys really can stretch their fuel tank because we are 11 minutes left on the clock.
Certainly a flexible track. Grau returns 6th place. Gaspers still has not regained the lead because the pit cycle has not finished, and Fitterer continues on. It is just himself and DePoy We ride on board there with Sadro fighting with Max Grau. But into Wagon Wheel, he has to back out of it. Ahead of them is DePoy, who I mentioned has yet to pit. They do not want to tangle with this car because they are not fighting with him currently.
Now, the interesting thing here is that Perry did close the gap. Oh no, wait, he actually lost 5 seconds to David Gaspers.
Fitterer comes in 1 lap later. Watching the pit comparison between himself and Jason Perry, who is effectively racing. Perry comes around the final corner. Fitterer is out. Remember, Perry will have greater speed. Fitterer's stop was a whole 2 seconds shorter, though. And I think that was the difference he needed, because the 111 pulls himself a nice gap. You can see looking over the shoulder just how much he pulled away. The time settles out, and it looks like a 3-second difference on track.
Yeah, Don Fitterer really showing how much he was actually faster than Jason Perry, just couldn't get past him. Well, fuel strategy, that's your trick here, and Donald Fitterer finally passed Jason Perry in 2nd place.
Behind them, battle between Sadro and Ray. Side by side into Wagon Wheel. Sadro's got the outside. As Grau, not Ray. Grau nearly loses the car. That compromises his exit. Sadro has the outside of the first part of this corner, but then it swings left. He's going to have the inside as they come together. Banging wheels. Grau off the course. Couldn't keep the grip up, and he has to concede the spot. Sadro gets 5th position.
I'm actually not 100% sure they actually did touch wheels there. For me, there was still some space left between the cars. And nonetheless, though, great save by Max Grau.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit of netcode, just the way that car suddenly loosened up on him.
Either way, Daniel Sadro, the gentleman, he is giving back the place to Max Grau.
Look at that. 2 series today that we have real gentleman drivers out there. He wants to do it legit, but what this has done is allowed Adam Bradshaw to close in on the back of him. Oh, and Aaron DePoy, who just finished his pit stop not long ago, unfortunately has found the carousel just a little bit too difficult. Rear comes around on him, doesn't hit anything or anyone, and he gets it going.
That was actually an interesting incident, because he was way too hard into that corner to even make it. So the spin out actually did help him to get around that.
This has been David Gaspers' race to lose, though. Oh, and just as I say that, Gaspers is backwards on track. He turns it around and gets it going.
Nothing better than a quick 360 no scope down the racing track.
I think it was a 180.
Nope, full 360.
No, watch, see? That's a 180.
Yeah. And then another
And
180.
back the other way.
That's a 360.
That's a 0, technically, because he turns it back the same way he came from.
True.
For our skateboarders, he did a shifty. Anyways, so he had a 13-second lead. Make that about 5 seconds now. So nothing more than a little bit of embarrassment for David Gaspers. Fitterer still the one chasing, who has managed to get himself into 2nd place since the pit stops. Great strategy, by the way, by the 111. I tell you what, that was magnificent of him to just hover there behind Perry for as long as he did, save as much fuel.
Quick update on Aaron Fergley. We missed it. It's already 2 laps ago that this happened. The same corner as we saw David Gasper spin out. He actually found...
Oh! Staley off track, and that erupts a little bit of a battle between Dobek and Shaw now, who we see on screen. This is for 9th position. I think Shaw's going to have this one. Looks like they settled that out. How did that start?
Staley was actually helped around by Dobek. I'm not sure. I think actually Staley did brake quite early there. Let's see what happened there on the replay. There we see Staley already sideways. There we can see it now from the chopper view. Let's see what happened.
To be fair to to Dobek, Staley did suddenly veer to the left in the braking zone. He pulled a little bit of a Verstappen there.
Yeah, that sure was an awkward moment there for Michael Dobek. He came to a complete halt. That is why Michael Shaw then got past him. So Michael Shaw now in, that should be ninth place.
And Grau and Sadro still going at it. This is into turn one. Sadro a little bit off course. Not only does he lose out to Grau, there goes Adam Bradshaw, who bumps himself up to 6th. And this is important because Bradshaw and Grau are now your 2 leaders for Spec 2. The race is on for our amateur race today.
I wouldn't call it amateur because Max is anything but an amateur. Just saying.
Amateur in name only, I suppose.
But yeah, to come back quickly to Aaron Fugely, as I said, he spun out already 2 laps ago. That was at the same place that David Gaspers had his troubles, but with the other side that Aaron Fugely actually did find the outside tower wall and heavily went into that. So his race, sadly, quite early done already.
Yeah, he's been in the pits for about 4.5 minutes now, so this is a long time ago. Grau has a mirror full of Adam Bradshaw, who's pushing the limits of the track, just skirting with the gravel on the exit of the final turn. He doesn't have very many laps left to try and do something. Going to be kicking himself for that mistake in Wagon Wheel oh so long ago, where he handed this lead away, because now he's got some work on his hands.
And in 9th place right now, Michael Shaw and Michael Dobek are side by side into turn 1. They go. Who can brake later? It is going to be Michael Dobek. And he takes away 9th place from Michael Shaw.
Now that's been, well, I thought it was going to be settled out, but Shaw gets a great run off the corner. He doesn't, is that a little bit of a push there? I thought he was going to try and take the inside, although he gets too much curb. Car gets very unsettled through Wagon Wheel. Behind them, that is Edward Doherty putting a lap on Tidwell, so that was not for position. But Doherty is for position between Shaw and Dobek. We're on board with Dobek, who's at the front of this train in 9th position. Shaw following out of the penultimate turn onto the back stretch. It's awful close. If he gets a good exit out of the final turn.
And actually Bradshaw and Max are right now side by side for 5th place, and Adam Bradshaw takes that position away.
Back into the Spec 2 lead for the number 205. Max Grau follows behind. Looked for the over-under. He is going to poke his nose to the inside. Thinks better of it, and they go single file through 3.
That was very aggressive there from Max Grau. Really showing his intentions that he wants that maiden victory.
Dobek and Shaw can't get away from things either. Doherty now in the mix as well. Doherty going to take the position away from Shaw. Got that one going into Wagon Wheel. A little bit squirrely coming off of the corner. Collects the car, stays with it. Still trying to see if he can do anything with Dobek. Both of them duck into the inside late.
As David Gaspers crosses the line right now, so 2 to go for everyone with 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock.
Hard to tell where to look because we've got the battle between Bradshaw and Grau that is always close, and this one as well that seems to constantly be erupting. So let's go up to the higher one as Max Grau holds the slipstream on Bradshaw. Again, this is for the lead in the Spec 2 race. Bradshaw covers off the inside, but Grau is fully passed by the braking zone, manages to get down to the apex, a little wide off the corner, but the job is done.
Great car control by Max Grau, keeps it a little bit sideways, but still manages to put on all the power he needs to get a good drive out of turn 1. And as we're speaking about good drives, Michael Dobek once again in behind of Edward Doherty, So Doherty got past Michael Dobeck going into turn 1.
You might notice that Shaw is missing. He pitted separate from them. I'm not sure why he had the extra stop, though. I didn't see that he hit anything. He just suddenly peeled away from this pack. Doherty definitely feeling a little bit under threat from Dobeck as he covered off the inside. White flag waves for this man, David Gaspers, already from that 5-second gap when he spun. He's extended it to nearly 8 seconds now over Fitterer.
And guess who's back, Joe? It's Adam Bradshaw and Max Grau, as Max Grau once again goes to the inside to defend of his 5th place, but I'm not sure that will hold up too long, as Adam Bradshaw already side by side and got the nose head.
Last time into turn 1. This could settle things depending on how aggressive they are on the rest of the lap. Grau takes it in very deep, almost gets into Bradshaw. He's given just enough space, side by side. What about Daniel Sadro, who is bottled up behind, has nowhere to go. It's such a narrow track inside of Wagon Wheel. Gonna go to Bradshaw. Manages to finally get the position. That is P5 for the 205 in the Spec 2 lead. What about down into yard sale? And after this, we'll have to break away. Bradshaw covers off the inside, making sure.
Oh, both of them spin!
Down into there! Wow, how did he make that stick? We'll have to go back to that replay a little bit later. That was one of the most incredible passes I've seen as Gaspers comes out of the final turn. The 23 with an easy victory today, showing everybody how it's done. Bradshaw. Oh, Sadro's slow. Sadro's slow, and he's giving the spot back to Grau, but Bradshaw is going to be our winner in the Spec 2. Don't forget that battle for 9th place. Oh, is Dobeck out of fuel? No, I think he's
very deep.
Slowing? What is going on here?
Slowed down, actually.
He slowed down very quickly, though.
He did slow down, so he gave the position back either to Staley or Jeff Jacobson.
I think he did. He was the one that hit Staley, didn't he, into turn 1?
Yes, that makes sense.
To Short. Short got by. Let's go to the incident there between Grau, Sadro, and Bradshaw.
And you're going to be able to see, obviously, Grau spin out and Sadro spin out. And the actual thing is that because their lines sort of crossed, Max Grau tapped Sadro onto the back, and thus both cars were saved.
But why did Sadro hand that one back? I'd say that was a legit pass. I mean, they were both out of control, but nobody spun, nobody wrecked. He just was faster through the corner. Well, regardless, he thought that it was worth giving 6th place to Max Grau, our newcomer here in the series. And we're going to take a quick break here at the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. If you watch on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
here to Summit Point Motorsports Park. We just watched round 10 in the Weekend Warriors, and David Gaspers was your winner, not without his fair share of mistakes, though. Donald Fitter followed him home, and really the crucial point of Donald's race was the early part where he saved fuel behind the driver who wound up finishing behind him again because it was a shorter pit stop. Perry winds up on the bottom step of the podium. Stevie Ray, kind of a quiet run to fourth. He pitted early, which is usual for him. Started third, though. It was an overall loss for him. Adam Bradshaw, our winner in the Spec 2 race, with an exciting run after a mistake. Seemed like it cost him the win. He eventually climbed his way back to the front. Max Grau getting sixth behind him. Grau and Sadro had a coming together in the last lap, and we didn't really think there was reason for Sadro to hand the position back because he was ahead of him coming to the line, but it was Grau who wound up ahead as Sadro handed it away, who finished seventh. Then Bob Kern takes P8 with Edward Doherty finishing in ninth and Matthew Staley grabbing a 10th.
Jeff Jacobson rounding out your top 5 of Spec 2 class. In 11th, Brian D. Short, the hard charger of the race, started in 21st, finishes in 12th place. He himself gained 9 positions to finish in 6th place in the Spec 2 championship. Michael Dobeck in 13th. Ramon Regalado climbs himself 3 positions to finish in 14th. Michael Shaw loses 6 positions to finish just inside the top 15. Aaron DePoy 16th. Jared McAreevy, after not being able to take the green flag, starting from the pit lane about half a lap back from everyone else, he finishes in 17th. Sean Pereira, the first car to not make it onto the lead lap, in 18th. Will Tidwell 19th, and 20th rounded out by Ian Wilson.
And there you've got DNFs, Aaron Vagley 21st, Steve Elson, Miroslav Juracek, Antonio Reese, and Joshua Borg-Bonkowski ending the fields. And we have our winner ready to talk to us, David Gaspers, who didn't seem to have a perfect race today. David, did you have a nice view of the exit of turn 9 somewhere in there?
If turn 9 is the one where I spun, then yeah.
So what exactly happened there? Were you pushing hard? Did you lose concentration? You had plenty of gap, obviously, because you didn't lose the lead in it.
After the cars behind me fought a lot in turn 1, I was already out of the draft there. And after I had such a big gap, I didn't focus as much as I maybe should have. And I think I touched the grass with my left rear tire.
We saw a lot of drivers touch the grass in various corners, and some of them, it ended their day. This one looked, other than your one incident, pretty easy for you today. I imagine you're pretty experienced here with this being some of the free content?
Not much more than on other tracks. It's just that the cars behind me fought a lot in the first corner, and I was already out of the draft after that.
Yep, being able to break that certainly seemed to help. Well, congratulations. Other than maybe a little bit of embarrassment from today, this is one to savor with a nice margin of victory, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
That's David Gaspers, your winner here in round 10. And then up next, Steph is going to talk to Donald Fitter, the fuel-saving master, apparently.
Yes, apparently, Donald, talk us through your first stint there. How much were you really saving there behind Perry?
I was saving quite a bit. I certainly got out of the pits quite a bit faster than he did.
Yeah, about 3 seconds faster was your pit stop than Jason's. So really a job done well. Getting, I think that is your first podium of the season, if I'm right?
You are absolutely correct. It's not been a very good season compared to the last one.
Well, better late than never, Donald. Now, Summit Point, not really a track where you can pass very easily. Was your fuel-saving strategy a result of not getting past Jason Perry?
It was more inspired by the fact that Aaron and Jason were working so well together, and I don't drive this car as much as those two, so I just wanted them to kind of lead, and I said, I'll just sit back here and save.
Well, next up on the list, we will have the Nordschleife Industriefahrten layout. How are you looking forward to that? Most definitely a much different challenge.
I have to tell you, I own the D-Box motion system, and on the Nordschleife, it is incredible.
Ooh, that is going to be one heck of an experience for you then. Donald, thanks for talking to us, and once again, congrats on your first podium this season.
Hey, could you ask Jason, was he on vacation because he wanted to be, or was it inspired by Nimcross?
We'll certainly.
I'm just kidding. That's a joke, inside joke. He actually wasn't banned. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, we kind of figured that was the case. Donald Fitter, obviously, with a great sense of humor, and our second place finisher. And we will actually get to talk to Jason Perry, who is up next. He finished behind him in third. But before we get to the stuff with Fitter, let's start with the beginning of the race. Jason, you and Adam Bradshaw, we couldn't tell if it was a fight or if it was working together because it looked briefly like there was some bump drafting going on, maybe to try and catch Gaspers. Did you two just eventually abandon that ploy?
Hey, Joe. I think Adam fought with Steve at the beginning, which is why we lost David in the first place. That was a shame. I think David was much faster than all of us, but with the draft, we could have stuck with him probably, and that would have been fun. But yeah, we'd lost him by turn one pretty much. So yeah, once we dropped Steve a little bit, I think Adam decided he didn't want to fight, and he was bump drafting me for a few laps.
Eventually, fortunately, Adam had his spin in turn 3, and that took him out of the equation. Then it was just you and Donald Fitterer. How quickly did you figure out that Donald Fitterer was saving fuel, or did you figure that out?
Yeah, he's obviously going to save fuel sitting behind me, but I think Donald just took a lot less fuel than me in the pit stop. I think he took a gallon. I probably took about 1.3. And my pit stops are horrible anyway. So yeah, Don was the better man in the pits today.
And it's glad to see you back on the podium. We don't always get to talk to you post-race here. Donald wants to know if you were enjoying a quote-unquote vacation from a particular iRacing staff member.
I was enjoying an actual vacation, not a quote-unquote vacation. But thanks, Don.
I kind of figured that was the case. I heard some of the banter before the race. We mentioned to Donald that next round is at the Nürburgring. Will we see you there in Germany?
Yeah, I'll be there. I don't think I'll be talking to you. I'm horrible at the Nordschleife. I love driving it, but I am super slow there. Need to put more time in. So I doubt I'll speak to you next week, but I'll certainly try and be there and put on some good action for the cameras.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. You never know. A lot of drivers tend to wreck out on that race. So slow sometimes wins those races. That was Jason Perry, our third place finisher, with a nice battle all throughout the race that we got to witness. But that's going to end our interviews here today. Doesn't end our broadcast quite yet because we want to thank a few people before we go. A big thank you to the sponsor once again. That is Sim Stickers, that can be found at simstickers.co.uk. If you need some help identifying your buttons, whether it's on your keyboard or your rig in whatever place, make sure and check them out because they could probably help you out, make it look nice and snazzy and legible. Also, a big thank you to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe. All you got to do is click, if you haven't subscribed yet, what is the big red button that says subscribe. Then you'll get all the action for the Weekend Warriors in your YouTube feed. Thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Stefan, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. As we mentioned, the Nordschleife is where we are competing at next. That'll be next week, Sunday, August 25th at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.